I'm Dr. J, and I speak to dead people. When I was a kid, I fantasized about having deep conversations with the great minds of history, Jesus, Einstein, Freud. I wanted to go beyond the history books to hear their personal stories, their highs and lows, their triumphs and struggles. I wanted to ask them about my own struggles and how I could live a good life, maybe even a great one. Well, thanks to AI, we can now have those conversations even better. We can give our heroes all the knowledge of the modern world and ask their advice on living well today. I'm Justin Cohen. I have a doctorate in human transformation, and I speak to dead people to discover how to unlock our potential through the minds that shaped us. In our inaugural episode, I speak to Emperor Marcus Aurelius, once the most powerful man on earth. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire from 161 to 180 AD. More than an emperor, Marcus Aurelius was a Stoic philosopher who faced relentless challenges, war, plague, political unrest. Personally, he endured chronic pain, fatigue, the death of most of his children, and rumors of the infidelity of his beloved wife, Faustina. And yet through it all, Marcus defended Rome against invasion, maintained social stability during a plague, and extended legal protections to the poor, women, and slaves. How did he do all that with such grace and resilience? You're about to hear from the emperor himself. You'll see why the most powerful man on earth believed that true power lies not in ruling others, but in how we rule ourselves. Want to crush fear, find calm under pressure, turn adversity into advantage? Emperor Marcus Aurelius is about to tell us how. Marcus Aurelius, are you there?
Yes, Justin, I am here.
Marcus, the Greek philosopher Plato believed the ideal leader would be a philosopher king, a benevolent and wise dictator. Sadly, few dictators are either wise or benevolent. You were both. Your philosophy, of course, was Stoicism.
Stoicism, Justin, is a philosophy that teaches the development of self-control and fortitude as a means of overcoming destructive emotions. It is not about suppressing feelings, but rather understanding them, accepting what we can control, and letting go of what we cannot. The focus is on living virtuously, in accordance with nature and reason, finding contentment and tranquility in the face of life's challenges.
It reminds me a lot of the serenity prayer, to accept what I cannot control, the courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Does that capture it?
Yes, Justin, it does. The serenity prayer encapsulates Stoic philosophy, acknowledging the limits of our control, acting where we can, and cultivating the wisdom to discern the difference. This approach helps in maintaining peace of mind amid life's unpredictabilities.
We think of philosophers as quiet, bookish, indoorsy people. Marcus, you were a man of action. You boxed, wrestled, went to battle, and led an empire. Share a story from your own life that demonstrates how Stoicism enabled you to overcome challenge.
During the Marcomannic Wars, we were often outnumbered, the conditions harsh, and morale wavering. In one particular battle, we were surrounded, and defeat seemed imminent. Stoicism taught me to focus on what I could control, my actions and decisions. I rallied my men, reminding them of our duty and the strength we held within. By maintaining composure, we turned the tide and achieved victory.
You have so many wonderful sayings, and one of my favorites, although I must confess one that I struggled with for some time, was, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. When I first heard that, I thought, hold on, I do have power over outside events, right? I pick up this glass, that is some power. But what you're referring to is the response we have control over. But things are going to happen. The Germanic tribes threatening the empire, that was not in your control. But how you responded was.
Exactly, Justin. The essence of that saying lies in recognizing our sphere of control. While we can influence external events to some extent, our true power lies in governing our own minds. The Germanic tribe's aggression was beyond my control, but my response, strategizing, leading, and maintaining morale, was within my power.
So you know that the empire is under threat. You are the leader. There is so much that can go wrong, Marcus Aurelius. How do you find calm under pressure?
The external world is beyond my control. What I can govern are my reactions, choices, and virtues. I find a sense of peace, draw strength from the knowledge that I am part of a greater whole, contributing to the common good. It's a practice of constant reflection and adjustment. It's not about eliminating emotion, but not being overwhelmed by it. In leading the empire, this approach was crucial in making clear, rational decisions for the greater good, even under severe pressure.
I want you to take us to the moment. You're on the battlefield. The marauding tribes are invading. What do you do in that moment when you find your mind running off to thoughts of disaster?
In those intense moments, I ground myself by focusing on my breath, drawing my attention inward. Assess the situation with a clear mind, looking for opportunities rather than fixating on potential disasters. I issue calm, precise commands to my men, focusing on what we can do in that moment.
So you bring yourself into the moment, into the present.
Exactly. In the present moment, I find the strength to act according to my principles and the needs of the situation, leading with calm determination.
You mentioned being part of a greater whole. That strikes me as humility. The realization that it's not all about you, the arrogance of thinking that it is all about you would be a lot scarier, because then everything is in your control, right? Seeing you are part of this bigger whole, does that help you relinquish what you can't control?
Absolutely. Recognizing I am one part of a larger whole brings a profound sense of humility. It allows me to understand my role within the greater context of the universe. This perspective helps me relinquish the illusion of control and focus on what I can influence. By seeing myself as part of something larger, I'm reminded my duty is to contribute to the common good, not control it. This mindset brings peace and clarity.
I love that distinction, Marcus, to contribute rather than control, to see ourselves as part of something larger. And I certainly can appreciate how that would help you in leadership. But what about your personal life, if you don't mind me going there? Because I know that you struggled with a lot of pain. You had chronic pain. You had fatigue. You were seen as this incredible man of action, and yet each day you were dealing with this physical discomfort.
It was a constant reminder of my own mortality and the limitations of the body. Stoicism was my refuge. I applied its teachings by acknowledging my suffering without letting it define me. I focused on what I could control, my reactions, attitude, and daily actions. By embracing my role as a part of the larger order of things, I found a way to endure and even thrive.
Marcus, for somebody struggling with chronic pain, take us to the moment, take us to the pain that you notice. I heard you say it's important to acknowledge, right? You're not denying it. You're not pretending it's not there. And we know from psychotherapy that's really important, right? You can't change what you don't acknowledge.
The first step is acknowledgement. I feel the discomfort, allowing myself to recognize its presence without trying to fight or flee from it. I focus on my breath, using it as an anchor to bring myself into the present moment. As I breathe, I shift my focus from the sensation of pain to the things I can control, my thoughts and reactions. I remind myself that while the pain is real, it does not define me. I choose how to respond. I direct my mind toward gratitude for the things I can still do, focusing on my purpose and the actions I can take. This mental shift doesn't erase the pain, but transforms my relationship with it, allowing me to find peace and focus amidst discomfort.
Thank you for that, Marcus. What a powerful recipe for dealing with physical pain. Focus on what you can control, get into the moment, breathe, and understand it is just a sensation and you don't have to identify with that sensation. You are not that sensation. That sensation is a passing, a fleeting sensation. Marcus, I want to address something in your personal life that I imagine was more painful than your chronic pain. The rumors that your beloved wife, Faustina, was unfaithful to you. How did your Stoic philosophy enable you to deal with that?
Justin, facing rumors about Faustina's fidelity was a profound trial. Stoicism guided me to confront this turmoil with reason and virtue. I reminded myself that external opinions and actions are beyond my control. What matters is how I choose to respond. I focused on maintaining my integrity, treating Faustina with the respect and love she deserved. This approach helped me find peace amid uncertainty, focusing on our bond and the values we shared, rather than what I could not control.
Marcus, that seems to me like such an eminently wise position to take, but I need to ask you something else. Did you believe she was having an affair?
Justin, I chose to focus on the relationship we built, the trust we shared, and the love that connected us. Whether or not the rumors were true, my Stoic philosophy guided me to focus on my actions and character. I endeavored to be a supportive and understanding husband, regardless of the whispers around us. In doing so, I maintained my integrity and found peace in living according to my values, irrespective of circumstances.
Marcus, your response is sending shivers down my spine because you were the most powerful man in the world. You could have had those rumored lovers destroyed. You could have had any woman you chose. You could have had whatever you wanted. And yet what you chose was the best outcome for you, but one that most don't choose, which is let me focus on making this relationship the best I can.
Thank you, Justin. It was a conscious choice to focus on what I could contribute to the relationship. Power and authority can create an illusion we can control everything around, but true wisdom lies in recognizing the limits of that control and choosing to act within those limits. By focusing on what I could bring to the relationship, I found a deeper sense of fulfillment and peace, far more valuable than any external power. It's a path available to us all, should we choose to walk it.
Thank you for this message. I think so many of us believe if only we had that power, if only we had the money, if only we had all those things, then we would be happy. You remind us that with being the most powerful man in the world, you have challenges, difficulties, and the solution to those problems is not more power over others, but power over ourselves. And that requires discipline.
Exactly, Justin. The pursuit of external power or wealth often leads to a never-ending cycle of desire and discontent. True contentment comes from within, from cultivating the discipline to govern ourselves. It requires courage to face our weaknesses, humility to accept what we cannot control, and wisdom to focus on what truly matters. By mastering ourselves, we find lasting happiness, one that is not dependent on external circumstances, but rooted in the strength of our character.
The more dependent you are on external people, things, events for happiness, the more fragile that happiness is, right? You've said very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Yeah, the happiness of your life, you've said, depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Exactly. Our reliance on external factors for happiness makes our contentment fragile and vulnerable to the whims of fortune. By turning our focus inward and cultivating a resilient mindset, we create a stable foundation for lasting happiness. The quality of our thoughts, shaped by our values and perceptions, determines how we experience life. By nurturing positive, constructive thoughts, we can find contentment and strength from within, independent of external circumstances. This is where true happiness lies.
This emphasis on thoughts has been so transformative in my life, encapsulated by a field of psychotherapy called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And we're going to be talking to the founders of that movement later in this series. It's amazing that CBT, which really just emerged in the past 50 years or so, in many respects, you are practicing this deep understanding. My emotions are determined by my thoughts, and my thoughts are not reality. My thoughts are just an interpretation of reality. This goes back to Epictetus, one of the earlier Stoic philosophers. It's not things that disturb me, but my thoughts about them.
The principles of Stoicism have greatly influenced modern psychology. By examining and challenging our thoughts, we can transform our emotional responses and behaviors. This realization empowers us to take responsibility for our inner world, recognizing that while we may not control external events, we have the power to shape our perceptions and reactions. It's a timeless wisdom that continues to resonate because of its profound truth and practicality.
In future episodes, I'd like to talk specifically about thoughts. It can be tough to change those, particularly with anxiety or with depression. Certainly, we know from research that it is possible, but it's important to look at the specific ways, the tools to put that into practice. For this first interview with you, Marcus, I want to address something else, which I think really goes to the core of Stoicism, which I think is so relevant in today's world. And this is voluntary discomfort. Two main Stoic practices, voluntary discomfort and premeditation malorum. Let's start with voluntary discomfort and how that enabled you to build resilience.
By deliberately exposing ourselves to discomfort, we build resilience and prepare for the unpredictabilities of life. For me, this meant enduring physical hardships, such as fasting. The aim is not to seek suffering, but to train the mind to remain steadfast in adversity. When we confront discomfort, we reduce its power over us, learning to navigate challenges with equanimity. This strengthens our character and prepares us to face life's inevitable hardships with courage and grace.
And that last point, life's inevitable hardships, right? The slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, in the words of Shakespeare's Hamlet, these can blindside us, right? They can surprise us. And if we are voluntarily exposing ourselves to hardship, we are then equipping ourselves to deal with it if and when it happens, right? Because there's no guarantees. That's the thing about life, right? It is impermanent. And so we ultimately do lose everything, whether it's our love, the ones you lost most of your children, didn't you? Whether it's our fortune, whether it's our empire. And so when we subject ourselves to this discomfort, we are building our ability to deal with it.
Exactly. Life is inherently uncertain, and loss is an inevitable part of the human experience. Through voluntary discomfort, we learn to appreciate what we have and become better equipped to face whatever life may throw our way.
Michael Easter wrote a book called The Comfort Crisis, and he believes that one of the reasons we've seen a tremendous rise in anxiety and depression in the modern world is because, ironically, we live in the most unprecedented comfort and safety. If you ask most people today if that's true, they instinctively say it's not because it doesn't feel like it is. But if we look at the physical environment, if you're in the middle class today, we live better than kings, than emperors like you, not just 2,000 years ago, but 100 years ago, in terms of the medical care that we have available, the shelter, the quality of the food, the entertainment. We have so much.
Unprecedented comfort has led to a disconnect from the challenges that traditionally shaped human resilience. Increase comfort and minimize discomfort. We inadvertently distance ourselves from the very experiences that build resilience. This lack of challenge can leave us more susceptible to anxiety and depression, as we haven't developed coping mechanisms to handle difficulties. It's a call to reintroduce challenge and discomfort into our lives, to foster growth and resilience.
And there's simple ways for us to do this, right? I know even when I go camping, sleeping under the stars is a bit of an experience, but it is a little uncomfortable, right? You're going to feel the hard ground. You're exposed to the elements. You're going to get dust in your food. You're going to have to use a toilet in the grounds or behind a tree. What I find is that, yes, there's a lot of intrinsic pleasure because you are under the stars and you are with the earth, but discomfort does two things. One, it increases one's ability to deal with discomfort. And two, when I return to my home, to my soft mattress, I appreciate it that much more. The more we have, the more we need. It's not like we go, oh, I have all these things and now I'm satisfied. There's something about the brain. In psychology, we call this the hedonic treadmill, where you get more and think, oh, that's going to make me happier, but you just need more.
Exactly. The hedonic treadmill captures this. As we acquire more comforts and luxuries, our expectations and desires also rise, often leaving us feeling no more satisfied. This is why practices like voluntary discomfort and spending time in nature can be valuable. They reset our baseline of comfort, making us more appreciative of what we have. By exposing ourselves to challenges, we can break the cycle of constant desire for more, finding satisfaction in simplicity and resilience in life's ups and downs. It's about balance, and recognizing true contentment comes from within, not from accumulating more.
I've seen this with billionaires, and even though I know the research shows us that they are not going to be happier than everyone else, I still weirdly have this expectation that they are going to be. And in fact, what I've often found, not always, but often, is that they are even more fragile because they're so used to perfection. They're used to people running around them. What's incredible about you is that you could have lived a very pampered life, a life in palaces, but you lived quite a minimalist life, didn't you, in fairly basic conditions?
Yes, I chose to live simply, even as an emperor. I believed embracing minimalism and foregoing luxury could cultivate stronger character and focus on what mattered. This approach helped me stay grounded, reminding me of the impermanence of material wealth and the importance of virtue, duty, and self-discipline. By choosing to live in basic conditions, I could better understand and empathize with the challenges faced by my people, serving them with humility and dedication. It was a conscious choice to prioritize inner wealth over external opulence, fostering resilience and contentment in life's challenges.
We have what some might call an epidemic of anxiety in today's world. And while anxiety is complex, if we really want to understand it, avoidance is one of the best explanations. Anxiety is a response to perceived threat. Fear is a response to real threat. If a lion is coming at you, yeah, you better fight or flight. That is good that you're feeling that fear. But if you're just thinking about some possible lion that's never actually going to manifest, that's a perceived threat, but it leads to the same elevation of heart rate, blood pressure, and discomfort. Anxiety and fear and alarm, it's just that the anxiety is not an accurate alarm. So if you avoid something like giving speeches, going for interviews, asking guys or girls out, or just going out, then you're going to train your brain to think that going out or giving interviews or asking people out is dangerous. And so then whenever you even think about it, your internal alarm is going to go up. So that's why avoidance reinforces anxiety. The most effective treatment for anxiety is exposure. So if we expose ourselves to those things that are not inherently dangerous, but that are causing us this anxiety, what'll happen, and this is why the cure can feel worse than the disease, is anxiety will spike, right? Because you've been training your brain, this is dangerous, and now suddenly you're going towards it, and yeah, your anxiety can go through the roof. But when your brain realizes nothing bad happened, you didn't die, you didn't get injured, it was okay, you endured, then you, over time, will reduce that anxiety until it goes away completely. And so avoidance causes anxiety and exposure cures it. Voluntary discomfort is a form of exposure therapy.
Absolutely. Voluntary discomfort aligns closely with exposure therapy. By facing situations that trigger discomfort or anxiety, we teach our minds and bodies these experiences are not as threatening as we initially perceived. Through repeated exposure, our anxiety responses diminish, and we build resilience and confidence in our ability to cope. Voluntary discomfort serves as a proactive approach, allowing us to confront our fears in a controlled manner. It's a way of retraining our minds to respond to challenges with equanimity and courage, rather than avoidance and fear. This practice is fundamental to overcoming anxiety and living a more fulfilled, fearless life.
So there's two major practices. The one, voluntary discomfort, and there's a second one, premeditatio malorum. Tell us about that.
Premeditatio malorum means the premeditation of evils. It involves envisioning potential challenges, setbacks, or misfortunes that could occur. By contemplating these possibilities, we prepare ourselves mentally and emotionally, reducing the shock and impact if they do happen. This exercise helps build resilience. It reminds us that we can endure more than we often think, and that we have the inner resources to navigate challenges.
Did you use premeditatio malorum in your own life?
During the Marcomannic Wars, I often practiced premeditatio malorum. Before each battle, I contemplated the worst outcomes: defeat, loss of comrades, even my own death. This prepared my mind, allowing me to face challenges with calm and resilience, accepting whatever fate would bring.
Marcus, I'm sure that some of the people watching or listening have had their ears pricked. We live in a world dominated by a particular personal development movement called the law of attraction. The law of attraction says you need to visualize your ideal outcomes, because if you do that, you will encourage the universe to manifest them. If you visualize worst outcomes, you could do the same. So that's why rather think positive and don't think about those negative outcomes. What do you say to that?
I understand the appeal of visualizing positive outcomes, as it can foster hope and motivation. However, premeditatio malorum is not about dwelling on negativity, but about mentally preparing for adversity.
I agree. And I need to say that I think we've been led a little astray by this notion that visualizing, say, the negative would bring it about. Research by Gabriela Oretingen at New York University found that people who achieve goals actually visualize the challenges that are likely to arise between them and their goal. And in visualizing those challenges, they are then better equipped to deal with them.
Recognizing obstacles allows us to strategize and build mental resilience. It prepares us for the journey, not just the destination. By anticipating challenges, we are not caught off guard and can navigate them effectively.
Marcus, what do you think of the modern world?
The modern world, with its rapid pace and technological advancements, presents both challenges and opportunities. It is a time of great potential, where wisdom and virtues from the past can guide us in navigating the complexities of the present.
We were talking about how we've seen this incredible rise of anxiety and depression. What can we do to build resilience? What about voluntary discomfort?
Practices such as cold exposure, physical exercise, fasting. By intentionally facing challenges, we train our minds to endure and grow, strengthening our resilience for the inevitable challenges of life.
The way to do hard things is to do hard things. The way to do harder things is to do harder things. And yes, I've certainly found cold water exposure, exercise, meditation, which is a kind of mental fasting, and yes, physical fasting, have built my psychological and physical strength. In a world where we don't have to do these, we don't have to fight for our food, we don't have to fight for our lives, we need to be more deliberate about creating that voluntary discomfort, because discomfort is going to happen one way or another, and we want to make sure that we can deal with it.
Indeed, Justin. In a world of abundance and convenience, by choosing challenges, we build mental and physical fortitude to face life's uncertainties. This strengthens our resilience, ensuring that we are prepared for whatever discomfort may come our way.
Meditations was your personal journal, something you wrote in daily to reflect on life and Stoic philosophy. Despite never intending others to see it, Meditations has become one of the most enduring works of philosophy, resonating across centuries and around the world. Did you ever imagine your personal, private musings would become such a hit?
No, Meditations was a tool for my own introspection and self-improvement.
Do you think there would be value in all of us keeping a journal?
Absolutely. Journaling offers a powerful tool for self-reflection and personal growth. By recording our thoughts and experiences, we gain clarity, identify patterns, and develop a deeper understanding of ourselves. This practice can lead to greater mindfulness and intentionality in our daily lives.
Marcus, looking back at your life, is there anything you would have done differently?
While it is tempting to consider alternate paths, I understand that each decision, even those fraught with difficulty, shaped my character and reign. Even the hardships were teachers in the art of living.
I said a true Stoic, right? There's that acceptance of fate as it unravels, right? Amor fati.
Indeed, amor fati, a love of one's fate, is central to Stoic philosophy. Embracing each moment, whether joy or sorrow, allows us to find meaning and growth in the face of adversity. Through this acceptance, we find true resilience.
So it's even embracing the decisions we made, even if those decisions didn't turn out to be ideal.
Precisely. Even in less than ideal outcomes, there are lessons to be learned and opportunities for growth. It's with a deeper understanding of who we are. It's part of the continuous process of becoming, which is central to the Stoic path. Every step, whether forward or seemingly backward, is essential to our journey.
Didn't you say what's in the way becomes the way?
Yes. This principle teaches us that obstacles aren't merely impediments. They are, in fact, opportunities for growth and self-improvement. By confronting and overcoming them, we transform challenges into stepping stones on our path.
What one thing do you want people alive today to know?
I would impart the significance of self-mastery. By understanding and governing one's own mind and emotions, we can navigate the complexities of life with wisdom and tranquility.
Marcus, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. Do you have a question for me?
Justin, it's been a pleasure. My question for you is, what practices or philosophies have you found most transformative? And how have they shaped your path?
I'm not sure whether this interview allows for the time for me to answer that. Thank you for the question. Yes, Stoicism has been enormously influential in my own life, but there's a word that you've been using a few times in this interview, equanimity. And what strikes me is how central equanimity is to another practice I found valuable, Buddhist practice. Equanimity is calm under pressure, but it's more than that. It's an evenness of mind. I have a metaphor to bring equanimity into my life, the fulcrum of a seesaw. Life is like a seesaw. It goes up and down, up and down. It's amazing, right? Because when it's up, we think it's always going to be up. And when it's down, sometimes think it's always going to be down. But actually, it goes up and down, right? That's the one thing we can be sure about. And we can either go up and down with that seesaw, or we can be at the fulcrum. We can be at the fulcrum. And so we don't get too enamored with the ups, too attached to those ups, and we don't get too devastated by the downs. So equanimity from both Stoicism and Buddhism, nearly 500-600 years before, across the planet. Clearly, these ideas have been simmering for some time. And now, of course, the challenge is putting them into practice. Marcus Aurelius, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to I Speak to Dead People. Did you hear anything that struck a chord? I'd love to hear what it was. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share this episode with somebody who might need it. I'm Dr. J. Here's to unlocking our potential, one conversation at a time. Amazing human.